In business, we have got to be adaptable, but it's easier said than done. And in this video, I want to share with you 3 key tips to help to make you more adaptable so you can face whatever challenges are going to come your way in business. Whether you are thinking of starting a business or you have a business, this is Raw and Real Entrepreneurship, and I am Susan Sly. So the first thing I want to talk about is really this concept of adaptability. When I was 10 years old, my dad, Joe, handed me the book, The Art of War by Sun Tzu. This is a thousands-year-old text on war, but it is actually taught at many of the top business schools today, Harvard and Wharton and so many others. And when I read this book, some dads give their kids Charlotte's Web. No, I got The Art of War. When I read it, one thing stood out for me, and that was this: adapt to your terrain. To be a successful entrepreneur, you have got to be adaptable. And one thing that I really appreciate about entrepreneurship is we have a lot of opportunities to change. And change isn't easy. Change is often scary, but the more flexible we can be, the more adaptable we can be. And that's when we seize the opportunity to innovate. So I want to share with you 3 things that I've learned about adaptability, and hopefully you can apply these to your business. The first one is to really listen to your end users. So thinking about your business or your ideal business, ultimately, who is the person that's going to be using it? And it doesn't mean necessarily the person writing the check. It could be someone else. So let me give an example. Let's say that you have a product or service, and that product or service is going to be sold to another business. But ultimately, let's say it's the employees of that business who are going to be the end users. If you are not listening to those end users, you might sell something that they don't want to adopt. And at the end of the day, if the employees don't adopt it, they'll push back on management, and management won't continue to use your product or service. So in my role as a co-founder at Radius AI, one of the things we do in our product development is we really sit down and take that time with the end user. And we say, listen, we want honest feedback. Tell us if this is something you would want to use, not want to use. And if it is something you're not sure about using, what can we do to make it more usable for you? That has allowed us to have tremendous success, because as we're getting that feedback, it allows us to go back to our technical team and say, hey guys, you know what? Let's talk about how usable this actually is, because sometimes things can be really good in theory, but they're not necessarily so easy to use. I look at products all the time and I'm like, that was designed by a bunch of engineers and data scientists, but no one ever bothered to talk to the end user. And it's so complicated. In business, there's something called friction. The more friction a product has, the more challenges that the end users have, the less likely people are to use it and keep retaining it. And so I'll give you an example. Steve Jobs was indeed a bona fide genius. One of the things he said about Apple is it's got to be simple, it's got to be elegant. He challenged his team to make Apple products so easy to use that you literally had to turn them on, choose your language, swipe, choose the next thing, swipe, and then poof, enter your ID, and everything just happens for you. There are other operating systems out there that aren't as simple to use. And that's why Apple has had such tremendous success and continues to just grow in monumental ways. And as they eventually introduce VR products, if that's on their roadmap, I believe it is, and they introduce electric vehicles and different things, as long as they keep that design ethos of easy to use, they're going to continue to retain and grow their customer base. They understand their end user. The second tip that I want to give is pay attention to trends. This is going to help you to be agile. So how do you really take a look at trends? I want to talk to you for a moment about the meme stock crowd of 2021. This was a group of everyday people who drove the prices of companies, the share prices of companies like GameStop, AMC to record highs. They're the same group of people that are part of the Sheeb army on Twitter. They're the same group of people that are part of the Doge army. They're the same people that retweet Elon Musk tweets, especially when Elon tweets about Doge, these meme coins for the people. And so the new thing that is really going to drive innovation is actually the crowd. And if you are discounting everyday people, you probably want to step back and ask yourself why you're an entrepreneur. We are seeing more and more everyday folks rallying around causes. That's where crowdfunding is coming, from popular platforms like WeFunder as an example, where people can invest $25, $50, $100 in investments that were previously closed to, people who didn't have, $250,000 to invest. It's the same thing with an app like Robinhood, where you can buy part of a stock, or Coinbase, where you can buy part of a coin, part of a token. And so when you start to think about the crowd is now driving innovation. They are driving the feedback. And if you as a business owner aren't paying attention to what it is people want, I want to suggest for you, get on Twitter, go into the Reddit boards, look at the hashtags on Instagram, go onto TikTok, really get a feel for what it is people want. And when you can figure out a way to really serve the everyday person, that's going to change your life. The third thing I want to say about innovation and adaptability is that I say this to our staff all the time: version 1 is better than version none. And sometimes when you're getting your product or service out there and you want everything to be perfect, and you want your website to be perfect, or your social media to be perfect, or your logo to be perfect, my gosh, right? Like it can be exhausting, and then you're never going to get there. And in fact, in the United States, 61% of Americans say they want to start a business, but 92% of them never actually do. So perfection is a form of procrastination. So adaptability means that you can say, hey, I'm going to get this version 1 of my product or service out there. I'm going to be okay with feedback. I'm actually going to be okay with feedback that might feel alarming to me. It might feel abrasive to me, but there can be no innovation if you are putting your ego into the equation. I'm going to say that again. Now, oh my gosh, that was good. I'll have to make a quote out of that. There can be no innovation if you are putting your ego into the equation. And Wayne Dyer, who I knew, is just a beautiful human being, great best-selling author, speaker, transformational coach. Wayne used to say, ego stands for edging God out. So if you aren't getting out your version 1, if you aren't putting yourself out there, it's because you're afraid, generally speaking, of being wounded, being criticized. And that fear is going to prevent the innovation. It's going to prevent the product and service improvements. And that is going to prevent you from being adaptable. Well, I want to encourage you, go on over to susansly.com. I've got some great free gifts. I've got a new course coming up called Employee to Entrepreneur. It's a learn on demand course. So go ahead, register for my weekly tips, and you will be one of the first people to be able to take that course, and you'll get it at a smoking hot deal, which will be amazing. And it's just the fundamentals. It's still the raw and real stuff, everything you know to transition from employee to entrepreneur. So with that, God bless, go rock your day. Drop a comment below, hit subscribe, hit the notification buttons. And with that, I will see you in the future video.